Life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes it breaks you. After a training accident left me paralysed from the neck down, I had to rebuild my body, my mind and my life. I'm Ryan Curtis, and every episode we dig into the chaos that shapes who we become. Before we get into the episode, it'd mean the absolute world to us if you could follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're currently listening to this on. For you guys, it's just a small click of the button, but for us, it's huge to grow the podcast, to get bigger guests on and have more interesting conversations for you. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Made in Chaos with me, Ryan Curtis. On today's episode, we have clinical psychologist, author and speaker Ross G.Y. Most people think mental strength means pushing through everything, never slowing down, never breaking, never letting anybody see you struggle. But what if that way of thinking is actually the reason so many people are burnt out, anxious and emotionally exhausted? Ross has spent years studying the psychology of resilience, purpose, pressure and human behaviour, helping people understand that real strength is not about becoming emotionally numb, it's about learning how to bend without breaking. In today's conversation, we speak about burnout, anxiety, trauma, purpose, emotional avoidance, modern pressure, and why so many people are chasing success while quietly losing themselves in the process. This episode is packed with perspective and practical advice that genuinely has the power to change the way you think about your own life. Ross, a lot of people think being mentally strong means pushing through everything. What do you think real mental strength actually is?
I'm a big fan of qualities like tenacity. To an extent, obsessiveness can be helpful, as can that drive for perfection that can carry us through. But I have some concerns, Ryan, that there's too much emphasis placed on particular versions of strength.
Right.
And as important as qualities like relentlessness can be, if we're going to be relentlessly relentless, we're going to burn out.
Yes.
I really talk to my clients a lot about the importance of balancing our get, threat, and reset motivational modes.
Okay.
So if you think about get, it's about our motivation to strive, to really work for those goals that matter to us, to connect with our sense of purpose and our passion. So the get mode is about striving. It's important for us also to have a threat mode.
Yeah.
To be sensitive to potential risk or danger and to respond to that. So threat mode is about surviving.
Right, like a fight or flight system almost.
Exactly that. And then we have the reset mode, which is about reviving, taking care of ourselves so we can continue to take care of business.
Yeah, like I could imagine a lot of high achievers, that's the one that you probably would need to work on most.
Exactly. I often describe it as the poor relative in the get, threat and reset mix. And I think too much emphasis is placed on the get mode in terms of mental strength. It's like go, go, go. It's the always on culture that we live in, almost like do more to be more. But if you're not taking care of yourself and getting into those resets and being vulnerable enough to say, I need to take a foot off the gas so that I can keep myself right. So for me, having the courage to actually get into that reset so you can go again, that's a massive part of mental strength for me.
Yeah, because I heard, I actually like, even though he speaks different more than anybody else, Elon Musk, he's definitely his own person, I would say, Elon. But I heard him talking about one time how he actually, people think because of the status and the money and everything else that they'd want to be him, but I remember him clearly saying, he was like, you think you'd want to be me, but you would never want to be me, because he says, I can't enjoy anything because my mind, I can't switch it off. Yeah. You know, that must be a very difficult mind to live in, because I can imagine for just constantly just trying to strive all the time, because then I suppose like you're never really actually fully taking in your accomplishments, because it's always just what's next,
Exactly.
you know.
I read an interview with Elon Musk's ex-wife,
Right.
and she did this interview with Marie Claire, the magazine, and she highlighted that some of the qualities that make Elon exceptional in the boardroom
Yes.
do not make him exceptional in the kitchen
Yeah.
or in the living room whenever you're trying to interact on that family level. So context matters. And for me, a big part of mindset is having the ability to flexibly change depending on what the context needs you to do. So I talk a lot about the importance of developing what I call a flexible mind.
Okay.
And that's drawing on this literature and research around a concept called psychological flexibility. And having a flexible mind is not a mindset per se.
Okay.
It's the ability to flexibly deploy different mindsets
Yes.
depending on what the situation needs. Like sometimes you'll need to go fast. Sometimes you'll need to go slow. Sometimes you'll need to go hard. Sometimes you'll need to go home. And that whole thing about go hard or go home, sometimes it's important to go home.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
need that flexibility to take care of your relationships, to take care of yourself. And that's where the reset, I think, does
Yeah.
come in.
But I suppose that's the core threat as well, isn't it? Because I can imagine a lot of people who don't have that drive, you know, it's very difficult. Do you ever get people coming to you to acquire the mindset to kind of perform like a high achiever?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine you have high achievers and you're trying to help them switch on, or switch off rather. But you have kind of people who want to get to a certain level, but they can't seem to switch that on.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I talk about my work being a lot about sustainable high performance. And I do a lot of work with athletes. I'm fortunate to work as part of the Irish Rugby Football Union, their psychology panel.
Okay, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, we would help support the mental health and well-being of rugby players, professional rugby players on the island. And so I work a lot with elite performers, and it's about balancing that emphasis they're placing on performance.
Do you usually get people at that sort of level finding that you have to almost work on pushing them rather than pulling them back?
I often say the hardest thing is to get the person in the chair in front of you.
Okay.
Often people are so attached to the idea of needing to be mentally strong
Yes.
that they view the idea of expressing vulnerability or putting their hand up and saying that they're not doing well enough as a form of weakness that could count against them. And vulnerability is strength. You know, hopefully that's coming through from what I'm talking about. Being able to say, listen, I need to do a bit of work on myself here. So, yeah, I think as time passes, Ryan, it's improving. People have that willingness, which is great. Look, the only shame about seeking help is not seeking it.
Yeah.
Because people like myself, we have the skill set that can help people optimize their day-to-day living, their performance in sport or in business. But people need to be open to the help that we can offer. I don't have a magic wand. I wish I did.
Course. Yeah, of course.
People will only get out of it what they're prepared to put into it. And that's the first step, getting into the door.
Yeah, but I definitely believe like you're correct in what you're saying in terms of it shows more strength to go kind of show the vulnerability, because I suppose it's more difficult to go, or I'd actually need a little bit of help with that, you know, or just in, you know, yourself, it's like a lot of people kind of want to portray that they have everything figured out, and there's shame in not having it figured out almost.
Yeah. And in answer to the question that you put, so I'm working with elite performers at that level, but I'm also helping people to find their sense of direction about how they want to move forward. Some of my clients are coming to me because they're confused about their sense of purpose. And purpose is so important for having that momentum, that motivation, that drive to try to optimize. So as much as I work with elite athletes, I'm also working with people to help them explore what their purpose and passion in life actually is. I love that work, Ryan. You can see the lights come
Yeah.
on behind the person's eyes when they
Because
start to get in touch.
I personally think purpose is probably the most important thing in life.
Yeah.
I used to think happiness was, and then until I kind of really sat there and thought about it, and I was like, I think happiness is a feeling that's fleeting. It comes and it goes, but purpose, no matter how you feel, if you have purpose in your life, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you're excited, scared, all the emotions, you can still grow up and have a sense of meaning. What would you say to somebody who kind of is struggling with purpose or sense of meaning in their life?
I love that you're drawing out the distinction there between the transient experience of joy and happiness, which the Greeks called hedonia.
Okay.
Right? Hedonia, where you have those fleeting experiences of joy. And those are great.
Yeah, of course.
If we can have them
Everybody
in life,
likes to have. Yeah.
let's have them. But there's also eudaimonia, which the Greeks talked about more in terms of living a good life.
Okay.
And a good life is one that has meaning, a sense of meaning, sense of purpose, and may also mean that from time to time we experience difficult, challenging emotions. So I like drawing that distinction. Hedonia is important, but eudaimonia is important. And I think for the people that I'm working with, helping them explore where they can find meaning in life is so key. People often talk, Ryan, about, well, find your purpose. Have you found your purpose in life? And that can be frustrating for a lot of people because they have that sense that, well, no, I haven't found it. And what's wrong with me that I haven't found it?
So it's a very difficult thing, I suppose,
So I talk more about you don't find your purpose, you form it.
Okay.
The seeds of it are already there, Ryan, and the things that light you up, that you have a passion for, that make you enthusiastic, that get your goat.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right? Environmental injustice or political injustice for some people. And when we see those seeds of purpose, we have to be vigilant to it, and we'll have to nourish it. We'll have to support it, cultivate it so it can grow. So purpose forms. We don't find it. It's not like you walk out of the room here and you trip over your purpose. Oh, there it was,
yes.
waiting to be found, fully fledged. We'll have to work at it. And my work is about helping people get in touch with what it is that lights them up. And it's a great part of my work.
Do you ever find people kind of are still unsure of what actually lights them up? Is that ever the case?
It can be. Often people may have things in the past that they've done and they've suddenly drifted away from over time. And it may be about going back and revisiting that. Equally, it may be things that people always wanted to try but never give themselves permission to do. So it might be about helping the person to develop that willingness to say, well, I matter enough. I'm going to give this a go. I'm willing to show up to the doubt, the uncertainty, the fear that might come along with committing to doing this thing. But listen, if that's the price of admission to living a full and meaningful life, it's a price I'm prepared to pay.
Because I can imagine there's a lot of people who comes to you who kind of have been kind of, I would suppose, subconsciously programmed into what way life should look or they should be living, and they're obviously not getting fulfillment out of that.
Yeah.
Would that be
absolutely
accurate?
So I talked about psychological flexibility, the importance of developing that flexible mind, as I call it. Well, the counter to that is psychological rigidity. And that's where we live according to the same old rules that we have maybe been socialized into living by from school, from family, from peers. And those rules become very rigid stories that really dictate to us how we live our life. So part of the work about developing a flexible mind is to help people notice those rules, to see the stories that their mind generates, be willing to show up to the emotions that might be there if they challenge those stories, so that they can start to break free of those rules and live life bigger.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of think people are trying to be strong in a way that's actually damaging them?
Yeah, I think if we talk about those qualities like relentlessness, obsessiveness, perfectionism, if we start to overuse those, and Ryan, in life, those qualities get reinforced by the environment that we're in.
Yeah.
If we're working for an organization and they see that we're working hard and diligent and being conscientious, they will reward that.
Yeah.
But it starts to become an overused strategy. It works in those contexts, but listen, if it's always on, it's going to be counterproductive. So there's something about helping people appreciate that they need to change up depending on what the context is. And they need to see that society, the cultures that we exist in, will try to reinforce and demand more of us, but we need to be self-full.
Yes.
Because people kind of say, well, if I don't go along with that, that's me being selfish. Who am I to be selfish? And people make this broad distinction between, well, if you're not selfless, you must be selfish.
Yes.
But I love to talk to people about, well, let's be self-full. Self-full is about taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Satisfying those needs that matter to you so that you can take care of yourself and take care of business. So self-full.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny because it's a fine line, isn't it? Because you can't be a high achiever and kind of get to the pinnacle of certain areas without qualities like that. But then also, you know, you don't want to just get there and just have your whole life controlled by that thing that you're trying to, you know, because I know I've definitely had unhealthy obsessions where in the past about trying to get to a certain level of my sport and things like that, you know, and even still to the day I kind of talk about a lot about like hard work and showing up and you know, being relentless and stuff, like, you know, I am a big fan of Tim Grover and stuff, like, you know, when he's constantly talking about he has the book Relentless, and I am a fan of that, but I also understand that you get to a certain level of obsession and that's not healthy either, because let's be honest, I suppose by doing anything and working hard and kind of giving up your time to reach a certain level, you're doing it to kind of feel fulfilled and kind of enjoy your life, if you will. But I suppose what's the point if you do all them things and then you still don't feel fulfilled because you can't fully appreciate what you're already at the doing? Like, I'm sure you're aware of the studies of the Olympians who wear the gold, who win the gold medals, and then they become depressed.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, right? And the name of that experience is the arrival fallacy.
Right.
Is it like
when I get
fallacy.
there?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So it's kind of like I have worked for 4 years for this Olympic cycle to compete in my event, and you may medal, you may do well, you may not. And then people are left to kind of reflect on, okay, I've managed to achieve my ambition of performing at the Olympics or winning a medal. And they might get those fleeting experiences of hedonia, joy, jubilation, happiness. But often people report that within 48 hours, that's gone. And the question lingers, what next?
Yes.
They have had their sights fixed on that 4 years. It's come, it's gone. What now? So if we get too fixated on outcomes, it can lead to what I would call shallow success. There's no real depth to it. If you want to work towards deep success, I think it's more about focusing on the processes rather than the outcome.
Yes.
How you engage in your training, how you take care of yourself, how you take care of your relationships. And even more than the process, it's which qualities, which values are going to shine through in how you engage with those processes. You and I could go to the gym, chest and arms, right? And you could approach that in a very different way than I would. You might foreground certain values around conscientiousness, like putting the plates back on the rack after doing your set for the next user, right? Being considerate. Whereas I sort of leave the bench as it was, leave the weights hanging there on the bar. You might come with enthusiasm and commitment and willingness. I might come with this lackadaisical attitude, not really committed, not working hard. So my values would be different to what values are shining through and how you're engaging in those processes. And it would be a different experience at the end of the day for you compared to me. So processes are what you do, but let's think about the values that shine through and how you do what you do.
Yeah.
So I think to really try to work with that arrival fallacy thing, let's focus on your processes. Let's focus on your values. That's what's going to give you the eudaimonia, the kind of meaningful life.
Yeah, because it's kind of like one of them things where so many people are like, oh, when I achieve this, or when I get to this level of wealth, or when I get this new car, or whatever, I suppose it does usually, it can also form around kind of achievements, but also forms around like kind of material things. But do you think for a lot of the Olympians who have that in their mind where it's like, oh, when I finally achieve that where I'm at, been working so hard for, I will be happy and I will feel fulfilled because I've achieved what I said I was going to achieve?
Yeah. So I talk about those as when, then traps.
Okay.
When, then traps. When I achieve that personal best in my event, then I'll be happy.
Yes.
When, then. But that's a lot of the present moment we're cancelling. Do you see we're making our happiness contingent or dependent on a particular outcome?
Yes.
Meanwhile, day-to-day life is happening. We don't live the moment in front of our face. We are devaluing the present moment in anticipation of an imagined better future.
Yes. And then you actually get to the future point where you thought it was going to make you happen, and then it's like, oh no, I'm not even happy anymore. Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah, because I know from fighting at a really high level when, see, to be honest, you know, when I won a fight, even when I was fighting at a really high level, maybe because it was the nature of what I done, like MMA, and, you know, it's the consequences are really dire. So when I won a fight, I sometimes wasn't even happy. I was just relieved that I didn't get embarrassed in front of everybody else. But then after that feeling would go away, I would be happy and everybody comes over and, you know, oh, you done brilliant, and you're kind of getting the little dopamine hits from people telling you that you done something really well. And I suppose then it's, oh, what I was training so hard for actually paid off.
Yeah.
And then like that, it would only last a couple of days, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, now on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, so, but as I was going along somewhere along the line, I often talk about I am a really deep thinker rather. And I was like, oh, that's not good, you know, you have to be kind of enjoying the little things, you know. And I remember a couple of the nights very early on in my career, and I know it was very early on because I didn't drive at this time. I was, you know, I took a couple of beatings in the gym and I was so upset coming home on the bus, you know, borderline crying, to be honest, at this stage, because there was just such a string of bad nights for me. And I remember thinking like, no, this is kind of, the joy is in the journey. That's what I used to think, you know, and thankfully I kind of understood that early on.
Yeah.
Now, it was still difficult, you know, because you're getting beat up or things aren't going your way. But when I was able to reframe my mind, I reframed that and thought, no, this is where you're learning the most. This is, so enjoy these times. Good. You know, because even backstage it's so daunting because, you know, you're going out to a kind of fight another man and there's, like I said, dire consequences, and, you know, there's a lot that can go wrong, and there's a lot that you're going to be embarrassed about if it does go wrong. But I remember just kind of reframing it and thinking, no, try your best to enjoy these moments, because one day these moments are going to be no longer. Yeah. You know, so that was my way of trying to stay present and actually enjoy it. Yeah. You know, because I knew them things one day was eventually... And, you know, even now, I would love to, because I no longer compete, I would love to go back there and get them little butterflies in my stomach, you know?
Yeah, I think that's so important. The way you just described that, Ryan's beautiful. Our upset is a window of opportunity to understand what really matters to us. You sitting on the bus, going home after a bit of a paste in the gym, the reason why it upset you was because it mattered to you.
Mm.
If you didn't care about it, you wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
Now, I think too often we miss a trick. We get bogged down in trying to suppress, avoid, get rid of those difficult emotions that show up when we fall short, instead of understanding that that's actually a messenger. And the message is that this stuff really matters to us.
Mm.
So it's okay to hurt. And in fact, in your purpose, you will find your pain.
Yes.
And in your pain, you will find your purpose.
Yeah. I actually never thought of it like that. That's really
two sides
nice
of the
way
one
of
coin.
putting it.
Two sides of the one coin. You cannot have one without the other. I could say to you, hey, there's a guarantee that you'll never experience that feeling you felt on the bus that day going home.
Yeah.
Would you be interested if I said I could guarantee you'd never have that again?
Yeah, probably not, to be honest. Like,
well, I would say to you, the price you have to pay for that is never competing again.
Yeah.
Just taking your kit bag and not showing up at the gym.
Mm.
You cannot have one without the other.
But it's probably because it's like innate in us to not want to feel them things.
Yeah.
I can imagine that, and that's why they probably do feel shit, because bear in mind the reason why I felt so shit was because I was at getting bashed, and then I felt demoralising and all them feelings were coming along with it. Or, you know, even in my mind, I remember having them thoughts at that time going, you're just shit, you should just give up. Like, you're never going to get to a good level. You're getting beat up and you're not good enough. And you know, all them kind of
inner critic.
Yeah.
Kicking off.
Yeah.
Right? Heckling you.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a social media account, you'd cancel it.
Yeah. Or a friend even.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not mates with you anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's important. And, you know, hopefully that sort of two sides of the one coin thing will help people see that, well, the pain is a messenger expressing to us that there's something important that sits on the other side. And it's in the language that we use to describe emotions, right?
Okay.
So as we're growing up, if we feel angry or we feel sad or we feel frustrated, people start calling those negative emotions.
Yes.
And they start talking about joy and happiness as positive emotions. I never use those words with my clients. Okay. Emotions serve functions. In fact, I use this acronym TEAM, TEAM. Treat emotions as messengers.
Nice.
Right? Treat emotions as messengers. What is it that matters enough for you to be that upset? It's a messenger communicating that there's something important in play. Now, if we start talking about emotions as being negative, straight away we set up this expectation that we should control it, get rid of it, suppress it, avoid it, or there's something wrong with us for experiencing it.
Yeah.
And we're hardwired to experience these emotions, right?
Yeah.
They serve important functions. So I like to understand emotions instead in the context in which they occur. Well, what function are they serving in this context? Let's help you understand it. Let's help you show up, explore, lean into the emotion. See that you can hold it in this moment, and the next moment it's not going to overcome you, so that they can learn to be with their emotions in a different way.
Yeah, I suppose if you think about the negative, well, sorry, even me now, because it's funny you said that, because I never really heard many people say that about the negative, but they serve a purpose. So are they really negative? You know, even me, and I do often talk about this as well, even me getting kind of, I wouldn't say I'm going to be truthful, I wouldn't say I ever got overly afraid backstage, even though the feelings was really not, you know, just they were overwhelming, but I tried my best to not let them overwhelm me to the point where, like, I'm actually doing the other guy's job for him and beating myself. But it is funny, like what you were saying, because they all serve a purpose, because I knew that if I didn't have that kind of butterflies or whatever, you know, and I'm going to be honest, there was one or two fights that I remember that I wasn't afraid, and that I didn't have that nervous energy and then butterflies, and I would go into the fight and then get a couple of probably really hard smacks and be like, no, you need to wake up here, you're in a fight, You know, so then it kind of came apparent like that them emotions were actually really good, but it is, I've never heard anybody talk about like negative
Yeah.
emotions like that. Like what I'm saying is what people call negative emotions. You
Now,
know?
I will describe them as challenging, difficult, because there's no doubt certain emotional experience can be challenging
Yes.
and can be difficult for us to cope with. But that's different from calling it negative
Yes.
or positive. Look, whenever
Because
I'm
it's
coming,
good, yes, negative is bad and positive is good, I suppose. And when you're framing it like that, it's like if you're getting them, if you're feeling them emotions, it's bad, so it must be wrong. Because I understand why you're even saying with the language thing, because language is so important for me. And
but it sets up this expectation that we should be able to get rid of it. It's kind of like in the real world with physical objects. If something's negative, like a wasp is buzzing around your head, you want to try to get away from the
Yeah.
wasp. So yeah, that can be a negative experience to have a wasp around you. But the emotions don't work that way. It's not the same as the physical world. If there's one way to ensure that you will feel anxious, it's to be really determined not to feel anxious.
yeah, yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And the same with our thoughts. If we try really hard not to have particular thoughts, we just end up reminding ourselves they're there. If I said to you, Ryan, don't think about a pink elephant, what are you
yeah,
thinking about?
yeah. Straight away, pink elephant. Yeah.
Do you know? So I am
It's so funny you were saying that because I've heard that before. And the first thing when you were saying all that, I was
He's
like,
gonna say
pink
the pink
elephant.
elephant.
I actually didn't know if you were going to say it, but I was going to turn around and go, like a pink elephant, and then
Very
you said
good.
it, yeah. Because it is a great,
Yeah.
I've heard that before, and it is a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is, it's like, another analogy I've heard used is going between the trees, and then you're like, if you think of the trees, you'll probably end up hitting the trees as well, like in
Yes.
skiing and stuff, you know.
That's right. I cycle a lot, do endurance road cycling, and like that, sometimes there'll be cones on the roads where they're doing road works and you're having to weave your way through.
Yes.
Don't hit the cone.
Yeah,
You're going to hit the
bang.
cone.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I would say in relation to this is whenever I'm coming on a podcast like this, I feel anxious,
Right.
right? It's important
Yeah.
for me to acknowledge that. The anxiety is a sign that having a good conversation with you, you were kind enough to invite me on. I want to give the listeners a good experience, maybe give them some takeaways. That matters to me.
Yes.
That's why the anxiety is there. It's a messenger
Yeah.
communicating to me that this stuff matters. I would worry, Ryan, if it gets to the point where I'm pitching up at a podcast and I'm not feeling anxious.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't matter enough. Maybe I've lost my way a wee bit with my
Would
values.
would that never be a thing where you're just so confident in yourself though, and your ability to kind of know that you're not to say that you're never gonna mess up, but you know that you've done it thousands of times and you've just got so comfortable doing it, so it doesn't really even process like that anymore.
I would say it's more that I get comfortable knowing that I can deal with the anxiety.
Okay.
It's not going to block me. It's not going to prevent me. I'm experienced enough. I've got my skills. I've got my tools. I've got my strategies. It's not going to get in the way.
Yeah.
It might mean a fluff a line here or
Yeah.
there, right? But part of the work is about self-forgiveness too, right?
Yeah.
We talked earlier about the self-critic, the inner critic, and my inner critic can kick off all of the time, right?
Yeah.
And it sounded like yours could
Yeah,
a wee bit
definitely,
too.
definitely.
So a really important skill for high performers is developing that self-kindness, self-compassion. And in high performance environments, the assumption is that's weak. That's going to be self-indulgent. You're letting yourself off the hook. Standards will slip, right? You've maybe had similar kind of thoughts.
Definitely.
For me, self-compassion is not weak. It's not passive. It's this active, courageous willingness to be kind to yourself. And I like to think about self-compassion as strength turned inward,
Yes.
right? So if people have got concerns about self-compassion, it's strength turned inwards, right? So you can back yourself. And there are skills, there are tools, there are strategies that people can use to really develop that self-compassion. If there's one thing that I think should absolutely be taught in schools, it's self-compassion.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, people grow up and their inner critic is loud and it hems them in It makes them
Do
rigid.
you think that inner critic is developed somewhere along the line externally by, like, you know, subconsciously being, well, not even subconsciously, by, like, somewhere along the line you were told you weren't good enough, or, you know, so even if you weren't directly told, you were made to feel that way, and then your body is, like, holding on to it, or your mind is holding on to it?
Yeah. Whenever I'm working with a client and we're talking about self-criticism, I absolutely will ask that question.
Okay.
See the inner critic whenever it kicks off, the tone of what it says, the content of what it says. Does it remind you of anybody that you've had any interaction with at any point in your life? Could be a school teacher, could be a parent, grandparent, could be a friend, you know,
Yeah.
people in your peer group. And people will often draw that link. So it's often the case that the inner critic is criticism that's been directed at us from other people, internalized within us.
Yes.
And it's kind of there to serve this preventative job of keeping us vigilant to the risk of other people criticizing us.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know? It's
Yeah.
kind of there as a safety mechanism in this bizarre, messed up protection kind of way.
Because we don't like to be criticised.
Yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the best strategy for managing that, because we're left to hold the consequences of what the inner critic is
Yes.
saying. And it makes us feel small.
Yeah.
It makes us feel alone. So there are other ways that we can work with that self-criticism, and we can work on our self-compassion as well.
Yeah. It's definitely a point where you're saying there about just, no, that really did, like, it's nearly like a defense mechanism, because you don't want people to criticize you, because let's be honest,
It stings.
it's not nice.
No, it
you know
hurts.
what I mean? Because then somebody's telling you, oh no, you're not doing that right.
Yeah.
You know, and there was times, funny, where, like, I was too much of that on myself. That's not good enough. You need to work harder there. You need to show up more there. What are you even doing? That's shit. And I suppose, like, sometimes in the past, the way I've spoke to myself, almost, the way I'm saying it here right now is way, I would have said it way harsher to
Yeah.
myself. You know, I'm saying it really
You're cutting out
mildly
the
here.
expletives.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's funny, but then it's like, it's tough, because where do you draw the line on it as well? Because do you think it's difficult, because you probably wouldn't, even with myself, I probably wouldn't achieve, I'm asking, I'm not saying, would I probably achieve to that level, or got to that level, if I wasn't like that with myself?
Yeah. There's no doubt that a drive from within to achieve and to generate high standards is required for optimal performance. No doubt.
Yeah.
That's a really important part of it. And you need to have the ability to put an arm around yourself.
Yes.
Normally we talk about putting an arm around someone else, so that you can both drive the standards and be kind to yourself too. If you think, Ryan, about the best football coaches in the world, who comes to mind? Who?
I suppose the big one's Alex Ferguson, isn't it?
Right. And
Or that's probably Jose Mourinho. And
yeah, Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
They drove standards. There's no doubt about it. Alex
Yeah.
Ferguson, you know,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
had expectations.
Culture.
And if you fell short of those expectations, you got the hairdryer.
Yes.
Right? That's what they
Yeah.
talked about. Jurgen Klopp as well, unrelenting in terms of the standards. But each of those coaches that you named was also famous for their ability to put an arm around a player,
Yeah.
right? You know, their player management, person management skills, second to none. So just because we drive high standards doesn't mean we can't also be kind, considerate, empathetic. And I think we need to direct that at ourselves as well as
Yeah.
other people. So yes, drive the standards, but have the skills that allow you to also take care of yourself when you need to.
Yeah, because obviously you're obviously not a coach, but a real famous one, I think everybody would agree, is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Especially when you see The Last Dance. And you're like, some of the just the way he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he was, but it's so funny as well, because I can resonate so much with what he says, and I suppose sometimes, like, when you haven't strived for an elite level of something, it almost sounds alien, some of the things that he's saying. But it never sounded alien to me when I heard him say some of the stuff. And another person who I always talk about is Kanye West. Oddly enough, now he's a musician and stuff like that, but some of the stuff that he says, I could imagine other people who haven't strived to get to the very pinnacle of something is like, that guy is insane, but it resonates with me so much.
Yeah.
Do you know, but I suppose probably to an unhealthy level, almost.
And to an extent, they're the exception rather than the rule.
Yes, okay.
There have been plenty of people who have perhaps had similar levels of drive, similar levels of dedication, similar levels of perfectionism, but they burnt out long ago.
Yes, okay.
So this is called survivorship bias, is the name of the concept. Survivorship bias. We look at one example, Michael Jordan, and we profile him, and we see, look at all the skills that he had. That's what it takes to achieve. But what we're failing to see is that 99.9% of the people who have exactly the same psychological makeup as him didn't make it.
Yeah.
Right? So...
And what do is, if you listen to somebody like Michael Jordan, why do you think it was so sustainable for somebody like him?
I think if you look at him, he's blessed with these physical attributes.
Right.
He's blessed with an openness to psychological perspectives. He's blessed with the technique that allowed him to perform, blessed with longevity. He managed to keep his body okay enough.
Yeah.
He did take time off. Remember, he went to baseball?
The baseball, wasn't it? Yeah.
So perhaps those little resets, those bold moves in his career to actually step away, to give himself a bit of a breather, allowed him to come back fresher. But yeah, there's, like anything else, it's always a blend of different factors that contribute to success. Fascinating story. I loved The Last Dance as a documentary.
It was amazing. Yeah. Just like that though, but you could definitely see that it was an unhealthy obsession, and then that's why it kind of worries me with, because I particularly see this in fighters too. You know, I even have some friends, I'm going to be honest, that I really worry about them after fighting.
Yeah.
Because it just seems to be a thing where, and I think why I kind of got away with it in a sense is because I, again, deep thinker, when I was young, I didn't wrap my identity in being a fighter, even though that's all people knew me for. If I was walking down the road, people would be like, oh, that's Ryan Curtis, he's a fighter. But I used to kind of say to myself, oh, you're so much more than a fighter. You're a great friend, you're a reliable person, you're somebody who people can count on if they need you. Great. You know, you're a kind person and whatever. And I suppose they were more, well, probably not, I was going to say they were probably more important to me. But at that stage, I was pretty obsessed, but I tried to take... It was such a balancing act for me, because I was like, I know I need this mindset to get to the pinnacle, but then I also don't want it to come crashing down on me one day.
Yeah,
you know?
Brilliant. Yeah, like the athletic identity. People can be so entwined with the fact they're an athlete that when their career comes to an end, it's like they're dropping off the edge of a cliff. It's like, what? So having the ability to invest in other areas of life, friends, partner, family, other pursuits, you know, having other hobbies, pastimes, so the eggs aren't all in one basket.
Yeah.
So that, your identity isn't just on one thing. A concept I often talk about is this strong intention, light attachment. So be strong in your commitment to be true to your intention, your purpose. Be strong. Right? Be dedicated, be focused, strive for it, go for it, but be light in your attachment to there being one set way of being true to your sense of purpose. So I might have a strong intention towards helping other people explore their purpose. That matters to me. That's a big part of my work. I love it. So my purpose is helping people find their purpose.
Yeah.
And look, I could get really attached to that in focused on doing one-to-one therapy work with them or coaching work, and that helps. That's great. But I can only do so much of that in the week.
Yeah.
I have to be open to the possibility that there are other ways of me helping people to explore their purpose and live by that purpose away from one-to-one work with me. There's only so much of me that can go around. So that's why I wrote the book.
But do you think it's very difficult, that in itself is very difficult when something is so important to you?
People get blindsided by it. But that was a big motivation for me writing the book, The Tree That Bends, How a Flexible Mind Can Help You Thrive, so that a wider readership could access these skills, these tools, these techniques that are evidence-based, that work, but it doesn't need me to be in front of them because I've written the words on the page.
Yeah. A quick word from our sponsors, The Ink Factory. If you're looking for the best tattoo studio in Ireland, The Ink Factory in Temple Bar is one of the highest rated tattoo studios in the country, with over 5,000 5-star Google reviews. They're home to 30 expert artists, including award-winning talent covering every style from fine line to full custom pieces. They also offer professional piercings from just €25, including jewellery. So whether it's your first tattoo or your next one, you're in safe hands. Visit www.theinkfactory.ie or follow them on Instagram and TikTok at The Ink Factory. Do you think some people are addicted to being busy because slowing down would force them to feel things?
Yes. I think we have various ways of avoiding challenging, difficult emotions, not negative emotions.
Right?
We have developed very effective ways of trying to manage those challenging, difficult emotions. And one way is perhaps getting really focused on achieving. And it can lead to overtraining, for example, burning ourselves out. It can lead to us neglecting other parts of our life, relationships, etc., fall by the wayside because we're so focused on this thing. So here we are, desperately trying not to have those thoughts or feelings about being a failure in life. And we try to achieve on the sports field, but we end up blowing ourselves up because the relationships fall apart.
Yes.
Because we're so focused. So if it's an attempt to avoid difficult, challenging emotions, it may not be the most effective. Because sometimes the things that we sacrifice are ultimately the most rewarding, fulfilling elements of our life. Family. Friends.
I'm probably, to be honest, I'm probably guilty of it in the past myself, by just trying to keep myself busy in kind of fight camps. Probably not to deal with other aspects of my life because it was easier not to have to confront them times in my life because I'm like, I'm too busy now, my mind is busy with this goal that I have to achieve, and usually it would kind of be after fights where I would have to deal with them, but then by the time I'd really probably not want to deal with them, I'd be straight into another fight camp.
Absolutely.
So I used to kind of just busy myself, and you know what, to be honest, when I was paralysed from the neck down, that was a big learner for me because I had no choice but to confront them. Because when I used to feel shit, then I'd be just like, I don't really drink and I don't party or anything. So, but when I would feel shit, I'd be like, I'm going to the gym, my mind is racing, I would go to the gym, And people would see that as a kind of a better alternative, I suppose, than kind of masking it with drugs or drink. But even to a degree, that's not the healthiest thing because I used to just go to the gym to feel a little bit better, but where I would probably really get the most benefit and have long-term effects of it is if I just dealt with whatever it was that was happening.
I talk with folk about the difference between away moves versus towards moves. Every choice that we have through the day, and if you take nothing away from our chat today, Ryan, take this away. Every choice that we have in our day, broadly speaking, we move in one of two directions. We respond to that choice by moving towards being the person that we want to be, acting effectively, allowing those values that matter to us to shine through, or we choose to move away. And away is from discomfort, upset, distress, away from having to show up to those difficult, challenging emotions. So the choice might be, I've had a fallout with a friend. Do I phone my friend or do I not? Now, the towards move would be phone the friend, try to fix things up because the friendship matters, they matter. Now, the towards move will mean showing up to those feelings of vulnerability, uncertainty about how they might respond, maybe having to apologise and that vulnerability that shows up with that. Or the away move could be, I feel too anxious about having that conversation now. I'll put it on the back burner, put it on the long finger. So that's away from the distress, the upset.
Would that be a lot of playing that? Would that be ego as well, though? Because maybe be like, oh, well, I'm right in this situation.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
you're moving away from the possibility that you could be responsible in some way for what happened, and people aren't necessarily prepared to do that because ego kicks in.
Yeah.
We all have that. So, yeah, we can ask ourselves through the day, well, does this feel like an away move or a towards move? So is going to the gym right now a towards move, towards that discipline and that conscientiousness, towards getting stronger, towards perfecting my technique, right? That's towards. Or is going to the gym about me moving away from the voice in my head that'll give me a hard time about the fact that I haven't trained? Or is going to the gym me moving away from having to show up to those difficult challenging emotions like anger, frustration, annoyance that I might have to feel if I don't go to the gym?
Yeah.
Now, it's a useful question, and I think it's one that listeners could hold in mind. Whenever choices pop up, you'll have these different options. Just ask yourself, is this a towards move or is it an away move? And a flexible mind is about having those skills, those tools, techniques to do more of the towards moves, acting with integrity, authenticity, being true to who we want to be in the world, rather than trying to move away from difficult emotions showing up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely does make sense, and it's something. Still, I'm gonna be honest. It's still something that I still wrestle with a little bit.
We all do.
You know, cause like that, if I don't do certain things, I do feel like, oh, you should have done them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not good. It's like, again, I talk about like me holding myself to a certain standard, and definitely when I don't do certain things, I'm like, that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely, and and it's so funny that I am conscious about it, but it's still difficult for me to deal with.
The other way that I'd explain it is sometimes, say in a football match, we play to win. We go all out.
Yeah.
Right, this matters. Let's go out. Let's win this. But some games we might go out trying not to lose.
Yeah.
It's all about, oh, don't mess up, or don't put too much on the line here. Just play it safe. Do you see the difference there, right? You could be moving towards that sort of hunger and appetite you have for success, doing well, being the team you want to be. Or you could get caught trying to move away from the risk of not being the team you want to be.
Yeah, well, you know, I say it in fighting all the time, and it's a big one in fighting. You know, people become the champion.
Yeah.
And you can see almost a difference in their fight style. You can clearly see, it's evident that when they get to a certain thing, they're fighting more not to lose rather than fighting to win. And you kind of, it'd be evident because you see them stop taking risks in fights. You see them stop, you know, pushing the pace in the fight. You know, stop. You know, you can just see the intent is, as long as they're just doing enough not to lose, they're there. You know, and obviously I don't believe that's good.
Yeah.
Because to a degree, that wasn't what got them to the dance.
Exactly.
Do you know?
Yeah. They're almost like being afraid of tripping over themselves on the dance floor, and that's really interfering with the approach that they're taking. Whereas previous, it was about, let's get out on the dance floor and express ourselves.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for a certain process almost, where when you get there, it's like, oh no, now I'm safe now. You know, I'm complacent. You could just see they get complacent almost.
Playing it safe. Playing not to lose.
Yeah, playing not to lose.
Away moves.
Yeah, it's It is. It's really evident that in fighting, you know, I say it a lot of the time, particularly when people become champions, because they're almost like, right, I'm the champion now. I have to hold on to
Yeah.
this for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And then the fight style dramatically changes from being exciting, risk taking to the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah.
Why do people attach so much of their identity to achievement?
I think we're socialized into it.
Okay.
And if anything, my concern is that it's getting worse. If you think about social media, like we're both on Instagram, right? And love your stuff, by the way.
No, I appreciate it. I love your stuff too.
And if you think about it, only the remarkable goes viral.
Yes.
The mundane is immune to going viral.
Mm.
The stuff that people are a bit meh about doesn't get seen. So there's a real skew, real bias in what gets presented on social media. And there's a lot of stuff that is people doing exceptional things. Maybe it's gymnastics, could be strength work, could be more technical, sort of martial arts stuff. And you're seeing it and you're going, wow, you know, how come they're so good? And inevitably we do that comparison. And comparison is the thief of joy,
yeah.
right? We have that sense that we're falling short. And I think because we're socialized in those spaces, it is about needing to do more to be more. So there's so much focus on achievement and outcome that we're not enough. So people stop being human beings and they start being human doings.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I think we are sort of social animals. We want to reference ourselves off other people. And way back in history, you weren't having to compare yourself against so many exceptional people.
Yeah.
But now you're getting it every day. And those mobile phones are designed to be highly addictive.
Mm.
Do you know?
Yeah, it is funny though, isn't it? Because you can just open one thing and see like
dopamine hit,
just so many different kind of like process across all different people, you know, and so many high achievers where, like you're saying, a long time ago, it was just whoever was in the kind of, what would you call it, clan or...
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dunbar is an anthropologist and he produced the Dunbar number.
Okay.
Dunbar number is the optimal number of people to have in a settlement. And that number is 150 people.
Right, okay.
Right? 150 people. That was perfect for us to have that existence. We knew who each other were personally. We had roles designated within that 150. You would have enough skill and people with skills in certain areas to live as a community. Now we might have 15,000 friends on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
How well do you actually know them? And we might really strive for all these followers on Instagram. And how many of them do you actually know personally? So, yeah, we're outstripping the social connections that really historically were relied on, the 150. And now we're led to believe that we should strive to have much, much more followers.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, that it's called social media.
Yeah.
But it's like anything but like being social, I suppose. You're literally going onto a screen and just spending hours in a fake world.
Well, it's interesting. The research that came out there recently has said that the number of people posting on social media is dropping.
Really?
Yeah. So what people are engaging with social media now is to view. We want entertained as opposed to us posting. Now that's across the board. Obviously, we have influencers who are a lot about creating content, but the average Joe, the amount of posting is dropping. People are being voyeurs. They're going to watch as opposed to post. So Facebook, when it started, was about, keeping in touch, letting people know what you were doing, what you were up to. Now it's a way of seeing what other people are up to.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I actually didn't know that. But it does make sense, I suppose, now that you say that, because I suppose even it's to a certain standard now, social media is like, everything looks like it's at a professional level. Even people who I know aren't even that interested in social media, their pages have a certain standard now.
Polished.
Yeah, Yeah, where like
gleaming.
I think the days of you just whipping out your phone and taking a picture of like it just quick as snap something
Yeah.
is gone.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain standard now, you know, the lighting has to be right, it has to look this way, it has to look that way. Probably got to do with the influencers rather, because they're the ones who set the standard or the tone on it, you know.
Again,
But it is, it's funny, like that is evident that people don't just whip out their phone and take a picture anymore.
So I'm trying to fly the flag a wee bit for that. On my account, you'll see me walking along, just chatting to the camera with some trees in the background. Taking a picture of your
breakfast like it's 2012.
Yeah.
What's the difference between being resilient and just ignoring how you feel?
Yeah. Resilience is a word that's bandied around so much, and it means different things. If you think about resilience, it could mean you go through a difficult time and you're completely unaffected by those experiences, right? You just carry on functioning as you would. So let's call that, and it's referred to as robust resilience.
Okay, yeah.
Right? You are robust in that you're unaffected by the experiences that you have. Then you've got, okay, you have a bad experience and you've got this dip in how you function and your level of well-being, and then you bounce back. And that's called rebound resilience. Rebound. So robust is you're unaffected. Rebound is, oh, you've been affected, but look, oh, you're back. Fair play. And then you've got this idea of post-traumatic growth. You go through a difficult time, and lo and behold, you come back stronger.
Right, okay.
Than you were before.
Yeah.
So it's not just about going back to the baseline where you were. It's kind of like new and improved, optimized by virtue of the fact that you've gone through a difficult time. But resilience is funny. Like, it depends on what point in time you're having the conversation with the person. You know, realistically, there may have been dips after your accident. And if I had been speaking to you at that point in time, I might have been thinking, Ryan's gone through a real dip here. He's struggling. I can tell he's upset and distressed here. And the evidence of resilience at that point in time may be absent.
Yes.
Yet, if I go back the week after, there you are, you've had a bit of time to adjust, to settle, you've accessed your mindset stuff, and you're positive and you're vibing off the positive feedback and encouragement you're getting from guys in the gym, right, who want to see you really grow and develop. So there you are, bouncing back. Oh, there's Ryan, he's got that sort of rebound resilience.
Yeah.
You know, or it might be 2 years after and I'm chatting to you and suddenly you are now presenting podcasts and talking to people like myself and geez, post-traumatic growth here.
Yeah.
Ryan is not just bouncing back, he's actually, growing and developed as a so, context and timing matters around these ideas of what resilience is and what it isn't. I'm more interested, though, in processes, psychological processes that help people find meaning in their experience. So I don't use resilience so much as a concept. Again, I'm talking to people more about psychological flexibility.
Yeah.
Let's give you the tools that help you get unstuck in life so that you can grow towards the stuff that really matters to you.
Yeah.
I think...
Yeah, I definitely noticed in my case, it was definitely, I would say, a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Because even though people might have seen kind of, and I'd be open about how I feel about certain things, there'd be like times like where it would look like I was at having a big dip, but then coming back and surpassing that.
Yeah.
Nearly, what did you refer to that one as?
That post-traumatic growth.
Yes, that would have been a lot of what it seemed like that was, and it actually would have been like that. Because overall, do I think the experience has made me a better person, a better human being? Absolutely, and I have learned and growed a lot from it. But there's also times where you might have looked at me and had that perception where there was, oh yeah, he's actually at the bouncing back from this and grown. And that would have been like what you're saying at that specific time. It would have looking like that. And it would have been like that at that case, but then I would have had another big dip.
Yep.
Do you know?
Yep.
And I think I was talking about it not long ago. I think for me, I've just learned to accept that life is peaks and valleys, you know, and that's what I did use to tell myself that a lot on the down days. I used to acknowledge it a little bit on the days when I felt great, going, you know, oh, you feel really good today and everything's going well, but I didn't really used to like to make it a negative thing, especially when, you know, and I'm even catching myself here using positive and negative.
Good man.
But on the days where it felt really good, I remember I kind of used to say, all right, you know, but you're probably going to get another dip again in the next little while. And don't be too upset when it happens. That's what I used to think to myself.
Yeah, and I like to help people explore this idea about noticing our thoughts and noticing our emotions.
Yeah.
I often talk about this, you know, use the noticer. And I think that's helpful because we can notice the stream of our consciousness. We can notice the thoughts that we're having without being swept away by those thoughts. So notice the stream of consciousness rather than getting swept away by the stream of consciousness. And in those darker moments where you were feeling down, it would have been easy to sort of feel a bit overwhelmed by some of the thoughts and the feelings that were there. You would only be normal if that were the case. And being able to develop that skill to notice the stream that you might be floating in as opposed to being swept away by it. So let's notice the peaks and the troughs. You know, you use that language, right? And that's you using that noticer way of thinking. You can notice that you do have these changes in how you think and how you feel. And if you have that ability to know that there will be ups and downs, oh, look, I notice that I'm in a dip at the moment.
Yeah.
Then at
But
least,
I think consciousness counts for a lot though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and I always do, I talk about consciousness a lot because how much can you really fix if you're not even conscious about it?
And that's where mindfulness, I think, is a super skill. So self-compassion is a super skill.
Yeah.
But also mindfulness is a super skill because I think it helps us to notice the thoughts and feelings we're having without being overwhelmed by them. And it's stuff that you need to do proactively. It's like a muscle, the mindfulness muscle.
Yeah.
You got to set aside time to practice your mindfulness so that it'll serve you well in the long run. A lot of people sort of turn to mindfulness as this, reactive thing. I'm feeling really stressed out. I'll meditate for a bit. Oh, that didn't work. That's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's missing the point. You wouldn't sew your parachute at the point you're jumping out of the plane. You'd want it to be sewn and set and sorted before.
Definitely.
So that's mindfulness. You know, if you engage proactively, it's a bit of an investment. You don't get the immediate return on your time.
Yes.
But over time you will, because I think it does help you notice that stream of consciousness without being swept away by it.
Yeah. I think definitely things like that definitely happened, or helped me rather, when the accident happened. You know, like I would say one of my favourite books and a big book that helped me post-accident was The Chimp's Paradox.
Yeah. Steve Peters.
Yeah, because I was conscious about a lot of things and I understood why I was feeling the feelings that I was feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, where if I was just having all these kind of crazy and irrational feelings, I'd be like getting overwhelmed. Yeah. You know, but I understood the human part of the brain, the chimp, and when all the systems that he talks about in that book. But again, that was only because I was conscious about that. Where if I was unconscious to all them kind of things, then I'd be like overwhelmed by all the feelings because I wouldn't know why I'm feeling them.
Yeah.
You know, so I do always talk about like consciousness is a really big part to play.
Yeah, you had a framework for understanding your experience, which helped you manage it and work with it.
Yeah, it was that was a big one because again, I do always talk about that. I just had like little systems, and not just that book. I had like many other things that used to pop into my head. But again, it's kind of like, that's why I find what you do so fascinating, because you teach systems and techniques like that when people are feeling overwhelmed. And I think that's so important, because when them feelings come flooding in and you don't know how to deal with them, it's a meltdown then.
And one of the frustrations for me in my work is that people seek me out when things are difficult, and I can work with that. You know, that's brilliant. That's what I'm trained to do. And often you get people sort of apologizing, almost like ashamedly, that, oh, you know, things were a little worse 3 weeks ago when I got in touch and tried to make the appointment. I kind of feel a bit better now. Maybe now's not the time for doing the work. And I'm like,
yes,
anytime is the time for doing the work. It's about these being skills, tools, techniques that everybody can learn. We all get stuck in life.
Well, prevention is probably better than cure.
Yeah, a stitch in time saves 9, right? We have that in our language. So I am about doing the work with people so that they can stay well as well. So, yeah.
What roles does purpose play in mental health?
Purpose is massive, and helping to form your purpose and to cultivate that really is a key part of that eudaimonia, living the good life having that sense of meaning and fulfillment. Why is purpose important? Well, I think it vindicates the sacrifices that we have to make. So if you think about when you were competing, there were training camps, maybe you were having to spend time away from family, from loved ones, but you had a sense of purpose around your performance. So it vindicated the sacrifices that you were having to make.
Justifiable, yeah.
Right. I think purpose also illuminates. It helps us understand that difficult, challenging emotions are part and parcel of what it means to live a full and meaningful life. Two sides of the one coin. Do you know, if you have difficult emotions, it's an indication that something is at hand that matters to you. You know, treat emotions as messengers. So I think purpose illuminates it, illuminates the facts that difficult emotions are going to show up as we do the stuff that matters to us. And then purpose motivates. It's this intrinsic drive to do stuff that gets us up out of bed, that gets us to a place where we have to get out in the morning, do those early morning training sessions. So yeah, purpose motivates it. Vindicates, illuminates, and motivates.
How important do you think struggle is for your life? Do you think it's good to struggle?
I think,
or maybe struggle is the wrong word, I suppose. Like kind of to do hard things in life.
Yeah, I think struggle is a good word.
Do you think? Yeah, okay.
But people listening will absolutely get struggle. Is it maybe the word good isn't the right word, right?
Okay.
Maybe in life it's inevitable that we will struggle, but if we're going to struggle, let's struggle doing the stuff that really matters to us.
Yeah.
And
because I do say it's like, you know, it's good to struggle forward, I say, you know, because as long as you're kind of going forward, that's what's important for me.
Struggle forwards.
Yeah.
Love that,
Yeah. I just thought that was something I used to say to myself, you know, I know you're struggling now, but let's struggle forward and try and, you know, reach the destination that you're going to get there. But also, again, going back to what I was talking about earlier on, also understanding that, you know, the good old times are happening now.
Yeah.
And enjoy this, because it's not always going to be there, you know.
Yeah. Struggle to get where you want to go, right? But, and this really shines through, if you don't mind me saying so, from your story.
Yeah.
That struggle to help other people get to where they want to be. And I know how your rehab, you know, being in and around other people who had experienced similar injuries to yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe being an inspiration, because I know you are, continue to be, for other people who have gone through difficult times. So yes, sometimes purpose motivates us to achieve things that matter to us, but that can also be about helping other people achieve what they want to achieve. So being an inspiration to other people is a big purpose for many people. And I think
definitely. I think that's something that when I'm struggling now, and particularly on social media, you know, because I don't really like I don't want to say I don't like to do social media, but it's definitely requires discipline, you know, and it's something that
consistency.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely something that funny we're talking about it, I struggle with. But then I also got a lot of messages and DMs and comments, and even people approaching me on the street telling me that my videos actually help people deal with problems in their own life.
Yeah.
You know? And I suppose that's a good kind of motivator, if you want to use the word, for me on the days that I necessarily don't want to do it, to show up and do it.
Yeah.
Like to do social media.
I talk about this idea of I talk about a lot of ideas, don't I? I'm catching myself here, but there's the offhand uplift, right? Where you will say something to someone, you won't even remember you said it. 2 years later, they'll come up to you and go, I want to thank you for that thing that you said 2 years ago because it really inspired me, or it gave me the kick up the arse that I needed to get the stuff done. Have you ever had that? Right? Somebody comes up to you and goes, do you remember that time? And you're kind of going, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I'll just pretend and be like, oh yeah, I remember that time I said that.
And you don't remember saying the thing that you said or doing the thing that you did, but it made a huge difference to the other person and the life that they're living. So don't rely on yourself being a good witness to the most important things that you do and contribute in life are going to be, because other people will judge it very differently.
Yeah, and one thing that's kind of been prevalent in my own life, I suppose, is different things will hit you at different stages in your life. You know, there's something that I would listen to today and just it would really resonate with me, but it might be because I'm going through a certain thing at this current period of my life. And even stuff that has hit me in the past and been like, oh my God, I can't believe I never thought of it that way or whatever. But if I heard that same piece of advice or just someone saying something today, it probably wouldn't hit me. Like, you know, and I've had that with books in the past, where if I was going through something in the past, a line in a book or just a book itself, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that.
I love that idea. So if people are watching or listening to this and they haven't been that impressed with what we've talked about, maybe if they come back again and listen in 6 months' time, it'll be
listen to this in 8 months.
Pennies
if it
dropped.
doesn't hit today, it'll hit in 8 months. When someone feels completely lost in life, where should they actually start?
Yeah, that's a lovely question.
Because that's something that I was thinking about, you know, because people do have that, you know, they don't know what they want from life, that all they know is they're unhappy. And, you know, and I know, like we talked about earlier on, I do believe that comes from a lack of self-worth and deeper meaning in their life. But if someone does feel lost, where should they start?
I think by recognizing that feeling of being lost is a desire for wanting more direction and meaning in life, and knowing that there are conversations that you can have with people, whether it be a coach, a counselor, a clinical psychologist like myself, a friend, who can help you explore what options might be available to you. Too often, I think we sit alone with our feeling of being lost, and that's in the sort of definition, isn't it? That if we're feeling lost, we're almost like feeling cut off or distant from other people. So let's start to close the distance between you and other people. Let's start having conversations. Let's start opening up around those ideas of vulnerability and uncertainty so people can get a bit more clarity and they can learn tools and techniques. Like my job is really to help people be the change they want to see in their life. Do you know, I'm not a mind reader. I wish I was. I'm not brilliant at reading body language. I'm maybe better than average. But my job is to be a catalyst to help other people be the change they want to make in their life. So I walk that road with them. I'm a bit of a mentor, somebody who has a particular skill set that can help people feel less lost. And there are other people like me out there, right? I'm not exceptional or unusual.
Well, you are extremely good at what you do, though.
So notice that feeling about being lost is a sign that you want
more
direction, some meaning, and be prepared, be willing to see if you can open up and have those conversations, knowing that other people are going to be able to help you.
Yeah, because it is a very difficult feeling to have that where you feel lost and you don't know what you want to do with your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there was a period of my life where I had that, but also again going back to what I was talking about earlier on, I had done a lot of self work because I suppose I just said to myself one day, it doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are or how much you look after your body, one day this is all coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for me, it was cut short, but I knew that it was coming to an end regardless. You know,
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to retire
Mm-hmm.
to from competing at a certain level, you know, like especially when it's a physical, you know, the sport demands a certain level of physical capability,
Mm-hmm.
and that it doesn't matter who you are, that's gonna run out eventually when, especially in sports and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
it is a very difficult feeling, and I think as well as a lot of people get to a certain age or a certain time in their life and they're like, oh well, sure, I've been doing this for 40 years or 50 years, and I've not been happy for a lot of that period,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's all I know and there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be like this till I die. But I think it's an important distinction to make, that you can change that any time in your life.
That's flexibility in action. People can get really inflexible and rigid about, well, this is who I am, this is what I've always done, can't teach an old dog new tricks,
Yeah.
all of that. So, yeah, if your mind is telling you that you can't do something, show it that you can.
Yeah, I think going back, and it does fall under that identity thing, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
that's what people tell themselves. Oh, you know, like you've been working in this office or this particular job, and you're just an accountant, and that's all you'll ever be. But
Yeah.
again, going back, you can, you know, you can change your career today if you like. You know,
Yeah.
it just kind of, I suppose, it starts with the mindset to believe that you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's important. We can get into that loss aversion thing. It's kind of better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Well, at least it's a pain that I'm familiar with. Yeah, it's not great, but at least I'm managing to deal with it rather than actually being prepared to make that change. And there's gain fog that happens. Gain fog. We don't yet know the joy and success that a brave decision is going to allow us to experience because we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So that's gain fog. You don't yet know what you're going to come to know and love because you haven't given yourself the chance to experience it.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that thing exists, the gain fog,
Yeah.
and being prepared to walk through that fog so you can get out the other side and see the
Yeah.
sunshine,
Yeah.
right?
It is really uncomfortable, isn't it? Though, and
is.
I'm sure that's what holds a lot of people back. That feeling of being anxious and uncomfortableness, because it's like, oh, sure, how could I just change everything tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Who am I to dream big? Well, who are you not to
Yes.
dream big?
Yeah. Yeah.
You get one shot at this.
Well, that's what I say all the time. It's like you literally live one life, and let's be honest, it's a blip.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Probably after our grandchildren,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna know who we are.
Yeah.
You know, because I definitely don't know my
No.
granddad's father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, that's that. I do kind of often think about that, and that's. I remember having kind of an epiphany very early on, like very like 7 or 8 years old, thinking, I don't know why I thought this at that time, you know, that you just get to live one life. And I remember thinking, like, I just don't want to live an average life and just live like everybody else. I want to make a little bit of an impact here, because you only get one run at it.
Give it a lash.
Yeah, definitely, you know, because like that, it's only one. What's one thing people completely misunderstand about burnout?
Burnout. That I think it's on them, right? Burnout is influenced by two categories. Well, let me say a little about what burnout is.
Okay.
Right. It's definitely a loss of effectiveness in the role that we might be doing in an occupational setting. It's also this increase in cynicism that we have in relation to the intentions of the organisation that we might be working for. And it is also a loss of energy, right? A reduction in energy. So burnout is very specific in relation to work environments. That's the way that the phrase has been introduced and researched. It's not itself a mental health condition.
Yeah.
But it's certainly linked and associated with poor mental health. So that's what burnout is. And it's also determined by two broad categories. There's the personal enablers, kind of attitudes, techniques, strategies that we bring to the mix. But there's also, secondly, these contextual enablers that contribute to burnout. That's the culture in the workplace. That's whether we're able to access support for mental health and well-being. That's about whether we're taking care of ourselves physically, right? Does the environment foster our ability to take care of ourselves socially, mentally, and physically? So I think sometimes people get into that sense that the burnout is something that they have done wrong.
Yeah.
They blame themselves, when in actual fact, you have to look at the context, the culture that people are living in and having to work in. It can be relentless. So I can do my bit working one-to-one with an individual to help them manage some of the fallout of burnout. But I can't guarantee that that's going to go away, because the culture might have to change. So you have to work both with the person and the culture that they exist in. And I think organisations are starting to wake up to that.
It's difficult, isn't it? Like, say, for it, particularly in like kind of a job like in an office where, you know, you constantly have to be seen as a high performer or pushing. And that is quite difficult, I suppose, because like you're talking about that is the culture in certain jobs and certain environments. So it's very hard to escape that, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and COVID was meant to be as difficult as COVID was, clearly, it was meant to be a new start that we were going to wake up to, the importance of good working environments for people. But what we've seen is the research indicating that people are actually working longer hours now after COVID than they were before. If you think about home working, suddenly the fine distinction between work and home isn't as pronounced.
Yeah.
You're literally moving from the office into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So it's blurred. And if you think about online meetings, it used to be that you would walk between a meeting from one room into the other. You would have a bit of side conversation with folk, you know, soft skills stuff. Now it's literally half-hour slots, back to back. You're moving from one Zoom room into the other with no small talk, not even a comfort break potentially.
Yeah, just straight in,
Yeah. So that can contribute to things being more difficult if we think about work patterns. And unfortunately, not all work cultures are as vigilant to the importance of taking care of their staff. The Huffington Post...
I suppose it's not really in the nature though, isn't it? Because
no,
business is all about just shut up and get the job done.
It feels like counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Yeah. Like give our staff mindfulness classes in the middle of the day when they're meant to be working?
Yes.
But Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post, she wrote a book a number of years ago, Thrive, and she talked about the policies that the organisation took and implemented so that they could take care of their staff. They were one of the early adopters of no access and work emails away from work hours.
Right,
One of the first to introduce that. Mindfulness yoga classes as well for staff. And she was kind of, well, sometimes less is more, right? The volume of work.
Well, I mean, for the longevity, I suppose,
exactly
it would make sense that less it'd be more to stop burnout.
Yeah, but not all work cultures are as progressive and forward thinking. It's kind of like, no, we'll have to drive people.
Yeah.
We'll have to work them so that we can be as productive as possible.
Yeah. One question before we wrap up, Ross. What would you say to somebody who feels like life keeps knocking them down and they don't know how much more they can take?
I'd be very interested to listen more. So it wouldn't be so much me saying to them. I'd want to be a listening ear for that person.
Yeah.
To understand the nature of those difficulties, to validate it. you know, because life can be difficult. And I would say to them eventually, look, you're not broken. I have not worked once with anybody who's been broken. I have worked with a lot of people who have been stuck.
Yes.
And my work is about helping them to get unstuck by developing that flexible mind. And I know it in my own life. You know, I get stuck.
Of course.
I do. And I'm lucky that I have skills, tools, techniques that are both helpful for me, but I also recognize that I need to talk with people too. Well, that's a good group of friends, my mates, and we would go maybe cold water dipping and in for a sauna, and the stuff that we chat about in the sauna, just wouldn't talk about maybe in the pub.
Yes.
Something about getting lads down in their swimming trunks or their shorts, sitting in a box sweating together, that suddenly they open up, and then going for a coffee afterwards. I also have a supervisor, you know, as a clinical psychologist. It's important for me to have an outlet, and I've got a great person that I
How
meet
often
with
do you do it?
monthly?
Monthly, okay.
Yeah, so that's very beneficial. So I would say to them, tell me about your difficulties. Let me understand. I'd validate their experience. I would be telling them you're not broken, you're stuck, and we're going to help you get unstuck.
What's kind of like a common theme that you kind of see people when they're stuck?
Yeah.
You know, what's something that like people even come to you and they're like, oh, I'm stuck in life, and you know, it's because of a certain reason. Like, is there anything that you kind of notice is more common than other?
Yeah, we've touched on some of them, like the inner critic can be brutal sometimes. And it's also avoidance. You know, people getting into a place where they have that understanding that, well, if I avoid certain situations, then I avoid those difficult, challenging emotions showing up. But they start living life small.
Do you think that's a subconscious thing?
Sometimes subconscious, but sometimes very deliberate. You know, I feel anxious in social situations, so I'm going to make an away move. I'm going to stay at home.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose to move away from the potential anxiety, the upset, and life starts to feel small. So the inner critic, self-criticism, avoidance of situations, which in the short term can alleviate the anxiety, but in the long term starts to make life devoid of joy. Those would be sort of common features in the people that I'm working with.
It's so funny, isn't it, that just as human beings, we kind of stay away from the things that make us uncomfortable, but in reality, it's probably what we should be heading towards. You know, but that feeling of like, you know, like you're saying, that if you get awkward and get overwhelmed in social circles, you alleviate the pressure by going, no, I'm just not going to put myself in that environment.
Yeah. Context matters. There are going to be some times where avoidance is absolutely the right thing to do. Avoid stepping out into a busy road.
Yeah,
right?
Of course,
you know, that's not going to end well. Avoid stepping into the lion's cage because you don't want to be temptation. But it starts to become problematic whenever it gets overused. So our brains are wonderful things. We're capable of this abstract thinking. We can project ourselves forward in time, back in time. But that means that we can have that sense of threat even in the absence of clear and present danger in the environment that we're in. So no lion here in the room with us now, but if I allowed my mind to wander to scenarios that are going to happen in the future about people I care about, then threat shows up. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have these abstract, beautiful brains, but sometimes they get overactive with the threat. And that takes away from our ability to actually be present, be connected, allow the values that matter to us to shine through. And I'm being present with you now, attending to what's happening and unfolding in the conversation we're having.
Yes.
That's where I want to be, because this conversation matters to me.
Yeah.
But my brain will try to hijack that.
Yes.
So it's about noticing that, oh, thanks, mind, to see what you're trying to do, but this matters. Let's come back to the here and now.
Yeah. That was a brilliant conversation, and so many good nuggets, which I knew, you know, when you came, you were going to give, you know, but just so many brilliant pieces of advice to help people deal with certain situations and ultimately become unstuck. You know, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. See you again next week.